It was a typical morning, coffee brewing, emails pinging, social media scrolling. And then, silence. Not a sound, not a whisper, just the eerie absence of connection. The world had unknowingly been hurtling toward a moment it couldn't have prepared for. A month with no internet. No updates, no streaming, no social feeds, no GPS, just silence. But what would happen if this digital lifeline suddenly snapped? It began imperceptibly. One glitch, then another. A missed text. A frozen browser window. But then the pattern shifted. Servers began failing. Every signal dropped. At first, panic seemed an overreaction. After all, we had backup systems, didn't we? But as hours turned into days, a shocking truth became clear: the internet wasn't just down, it was gone. Businesses, governments, homes, all paralyzed. Stock markets froze, emergency services struggled, and entire financial institutions, built on layers of complex, invisible wires, shuddered under the strain. Hospitals had no access to records, and planes struggled to fly without their digital flight paths. And all the while, millions stared at their devices with the same question: why can't we connect? A scientist scrambled for explanations. Was this a cyber attack, an unprecedented failure in global infrastructure? As the days wore on, theories swam in the media. Was it an alien signal jamming us? Was it a fault in the very fabric of technology we had trusted for decades? And then came the first breakthrough: a signal. Faint, glitchy, almost imperceptible. An attempt to reconnect, a whisper through the void. But before anyone could decipher its meaning, the signal disappeared. This discovery sent waves of speculation, panic, and hope through an already frantic population. Could someone out there be controlling this? And if so, why? Life, as expected, didn't just adapt quickly. The initial stages of withdrawal were unimaginable: social feeds silenced, no live updates on crises, no digital entertainment, no online shopping, no way to access bank accounts. Streets became chaotic as people flocked to supermarkets to hoard supplies. Communication became a treasure hunt, an effort to rely on landlines and carrier pigeons, where technology had once ruled the way we shared information. With each passing day, the world grew stranger. Communities became hubs of resource, sharing and barter, while the wealthy, who once relied on digital dominance, found themselves unprepared. Survivalist groups rose, hoarding supplies and rewriting new ways to live without dependency on unseen wires and servers. In a way, the internet had been both invisible support and fragile safety net. Now, that net had vanished, but the real shock came on the 15th day. As communications dwindled, as rationing became a brutal daily norm, reports came in from isolated regions. Survivors, remote villages without reliance on complex systems, had lived without the web for decades. They had their own systems, small exchanges, face-to-face communication, paper maps, and they were surviving. But they weren't just surviving, they were thriving in ways the digitally dependent world struggled to comprehend. The next twist came from an unlikely place. With the web shut down, groups once viewed as rogue threats were now gathering power, rebuilding systems, and sending encrypted signals with messages that weren't about destruction, they were about recovery. But whose recovery? Governments, corporations, or perhaps something more sinister. The internet had gone silent, but its absence brought new power struggles to light. It took weeks, but a group of independent scientists and engineers finally located what they believed to be the cause. Hidden deep in the layers of code and infrastructure, buried beneath continents of server farms and old data cables, they found an anomaly. A pattern of interference, far too complex to be a natural system failure. And here's where it got chilling: the signal. That faint signal that had appeared and vanished. It wasn't a breakdown. It wasn't a random error. It came from something else entirely: a deliberate, intelligent presence, a signal attempting to communicate, but with no clear intent. The question became, who was sending this, and why? Was it another civilization, a failed AI trying to restore what it broke? A warning? A weapon? And as the months unfolded, theories swam into view that our reliance on the internet might have made us vulnerable to forces we had never fully understood. Forces that could have existed far longer than we imagined. By the end of the month, the internet remained dark. Humanity, unprepared and vulnerable, began to rebuild life in new and uncharted ways. Cities transformed, alliances shifted, and technology experts worked tirelessly, trying to rebuild the pieces of the shattered digital network. But they knew this: the absence of the internet revealed more than just technological frailty. It exposed humanity's dependence on connections invisible and fragile. Survival wasn't about rebuilding the old systems. It was about learning to live without them, redefining communication, trade, and connection with nothing but ingenuity, old-fashioned human interaction, and sheer willpower. But in the final days, whispers continued. The signal came back. Once again, a glitch, a whisper, a message indecipherable and strange. And with it, the question remained, who sent this signal, and would we ever learn the truth? As the world stood on the brink of technological rebirth, with every decision a potential gamble, one thing became certain: nothing would ever feel the same. The internet had been our lifeline, our comfort, our greatest invention, and its absence had forced humanity to confront a terrifying truthing. How much do we truly control, and how much of our lives depend on invisible threads we've come to trust without question? And as the new days came, people looked at their devices with suspicion. The network remained broken. The silence lingered, and the questions only deepened. Who would ever learn what had really happened when the web went silent?